All right, pal.
Five, four, three, two, one.
This broadcast, telecast, podcast, and whatever the hell else it is copyrighted by the Rad Network and the Rob and Steve Sports Show, all found at theradnetwork.com, and is for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, accounts, or descriptions of this madness without the express permission of the Rad Network and Williams Broadcasting and Rob's really mean lawyers is prohibited. So just don't do it.
It's the Rob and Steve Sports Show.
They go length of the court. Archie Diacono. 3 seconds at midcourt. Jenkins gives it to Jenkins for the championship. The national champions. And Jenkins hitting the winner at the buzzer.
Welcome to 2 hours of sports and nothing but sports.
The change in a lifetime for Luis Gonzalez. 2-2, bottom of the ninth. Game 7 of the World Series. Bases loaded. Fly, center field. The Diamondbacks are world champions.
Email the show, ras@theradnetwork.com.
Background, and we zoom into Candlestick Park in the southeastern corner of the city. For the first time in 27 years, a World Series game will be played in Candlestick Park. The Battle of the Bay continues. Game 3 of the 1989 World Series, the Oakland Athletics against the San Francisco Giants. Hey, what, we have an emergency? I don't know if we're on the air or not, and I'm not sure I care at the moment, but we are. Well, folks, that's the greatest open in the history of television, bar none. Yes, it certainly did. We're still here. We are still, as we can tell, on the air, and I guess you are hearing us, even though we have no picture and no return audio, and we will be back, we hope, from San Francisco in just a moment.
And now, the Rad Network presents the Rob and Steve Sports Show.
All right, it's finally it's draft day eve, the eve of the NFL draft. The draft is tomorrow night. We got draft news. In fact, we're going to get to some breaking news out of all 4 major sports. Steve, we talk off and on about the greatest and the bestest and stuff, and oftentimes listening to the clips that lead us into our show, things pop up. And it is hard for me to make a case. I know all the names, but it's hard for me to make a case against Al Michaels being the greatest play-by-play lead guy of all time. That clip from him in the '89 World Series. I know, high school memories. I was 17. The A's and the Giants. I grew up in the Bay Area. What a pro! I know the other names that would be up there, but it's hard for me to argue against Al Michaels.
It's hard for me to argue against him as well. He is such a great announcer. And one of my favorite things about him is he has never knowingly eaten a vegetable in his life. I live by that myself. We don't eat vegetables here. And Al Michaels is my hero solely for that purpose.
For those who care enough about Al Michaels, he wrote an autobiography a few years ago. I want to say now 5 or 6 years ago. It's extraordinary. He talks about never eating vegetables. If you do it on recorded, books on tape, whatever they're calling it these days, it's him narrating it. It's excellent. If you care enough, I would highly recommend it. As I mentioned, news from around all of our major sports before we get specific about some of them. With the draft tomorrow, the breathless, endless, this is what's going to happen. This is which we don't know. And even if it does happen, we don't know if the players are going to turn out to be what they're supposed to. That will finally come to an end tomorrow night. And then we'll spend all day Friday evaluating what everybody did in by we, I mean the sports media, what everybody did Thursday night in the first round. And will it work out like we know? And then, what's everybody going to do in the second round? So today is when you start looking for the real last-minute storylines. We have heard over and over again lots of trades in the draft this year. And, of course, somehow Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys always find a way to get into the headline. They were already there before, 45 minutes ago. People are already talking about Cowboys have 2 first-round picks, number 12, number 20. And they are already a popular trade partner for teams looking to trade up, and there's a lot of them. We'll go through that later when we do our little, here's what's going to happen in the draft tomorrow segment. Jerry Jones confirmed this morning the Cowboys are already getting calls from other teams saying, quote, we look at both trading up or trading down. The Cowboys basically say we're open for business. We're busy. And then about 45 minutes ago came word that the Cowboys, after giving up for a third-round pick last year for receiver George Pickens, Cowboys executive Stephen Jones, yes, related, son of Jerry, confirmed at a press conference this morning, quote, there won't be negotiations on a long-term deal, end quote, with George Pickens. Instead of that, they're offering him the tender to franchise him, which would allow them to pay Pickens $27.2 million this season, keeping in mind that the market price for wide receivers leapt when JSN signed his deal with the Seahawks for $42 million. So a lot of people are right away saying, here go the Cowboys. They're cheaping out. They're not paying a guy. There's always been these issues with Pickens, and he wants his agent to talk or not talk. The Cowboys like to cut the middleman out. Jones went on to say they have no assurances whether or not Pickens will even show up for the offseason program because he has to accept the franchise tender. He has to sign it. He has to accept it, and then he can show up and play. He could also skip all of the offseason, all of the preseason. He could sign the tender when he wants if the Cowboys will still accept it. And then there's this question of how does this affect the draft? Well, the Cowboys, nobody's going to trade for Pickens is what I was hearing, in the initial outset, Steve. If he hasn't signed the tender, it's like we don't know. We're basically signing a guy with no contract, etc. The initial reaction was first big story of the draft. Here go the Cowboys and Jerry Jones again. And it seems like most people are saying this is a screw job on Pickens. Again, I haven't really analyzed it other than what I've been able to piece together getting ready for today's show.
Yeah, I'm not on that ship there at all. Pickens comes with a lot of baggage. He's a head case. We've seen all the issues he's had. He doesn't appear to be the greatest teammate. I don't think anybody really wanted to trade for him outside of the Cowboys last year. I don't see anybody giving him 30 million for multi-year guaranteed money. So I don't see that part. The part of the story that made me wonder wasn't it Jerry Jones who said we're going to continue to negotiate with him and see if we can get a deal done like a week, 2 weeks ago? And then Stephen Jones comes out and says we're not negotiating, which would, brings my question of, Jerry Jones has that habit of going out and signing all these players. And I don't think the Cowboys are cheapening up here. I keep hoping they get smarter with their money and how they pay that money out, but I just don't see it happening. Pickens isn't going to be happy. He's going to sit out all of training camp and, he'll sign his tender as late as he possibly can. I still believe he'll be there because he's not going to walk away from $27 million and possibly the right to be a free agent at the end of the year.
Yeah, a couple of things that jumped out to me as well, including some things you talked about. I understand the mentioning of the wide receiver market. The market increases every time you pay somebody the new number. So with JSN getting $42 million a year, that's the new top level number for wide receiver. But as you said, that ain't Pickens' money. Pickens ain't going. You say Pickens ain't going near 30. He sure as hell isn't going anywhere near, and nor should he be anywhere near the JSN number. The way it's being reported, and this is all very new because Stephen Jones did this like at 9:45 Pacific time in his press conference, and then it started getting reported about 30 minutes later. The initial reporting is that, and I don't even know where this is coming from, sources or the Cowboys, everybody's spinning. It's draft eve. When Jerry made those comments that they were continuing to talk, they're working with Pickens, that was true. But the part that Jerry didn't say out loud was, but only if he will do it without his agent, because the Cowboys love to do that, right? Separate the player from the agent. And the word is that Pickens refused. Now, is that because Pickens is a head case? Is that because he was being difficult? Or is it because, look, that's why I have an agent, dude. Talk to my agent. None of this has been said. It's being reported. And that's what led the announcement today, which obviously Jerry's handprints are all over it. Stephen Jones just doesn't go out and say, yeah, we're not doing that unless daddy has signed off. That's my understanding, but I've heard the same point you made. Pickens wasn't a hot commodity last year when they traded a third rounder for him, and everybody's known that Pickens and the Cowboys ain't getting along. There's been plenty of time to call Dallas if they were that interested, and it doesn't seem like anybody is.
And there's been plenty of teams that have shown no interest in George Pickens. I mean, the Cowboys got him for a third last year because nobody else really wanted to take him off their hands. And that was a third round pick. Yes, he had a great year with the Cowboys, but is anyone really willing to take on all of this baggage that comes with him? His taking plays off, and we even saw it with the Cowboys where, he just, I'm not involved in this play. I'm really not going to do a whole lot. I'm not going to pay that player, and I'm certainly not trading a number one or anything like that to acquire him.
If you had to choose, and you do, which wildly talented wide receiver with all sorts of issues would you rather have on your team, George Pickens or A.J. Brown?
A.J. Brown, because I think A.J. Brown can be fixed. I don't think George Pickens can be fixed. A.J. Brown has been a productive wide receiver in the league for several years. I still believe he's a productive wide receiver. I just think he's grown a little tired of Philadelphia. He has acted out a little bit, which had been, I think, a little bit uncharacteristic to who he's been. George Pickens hasn't changed. His time with the Steelers, nothing there has changed at any time. You know what you're getting with him.
Is A.J. Brown the one that was reading on the sideline?
Yes. And then he said he's always done that, but no one's ever seen him even carry a book or something like that is what they came out and said after that. And who knows, maybe this is a Jalen Hurts thing. Maybe him and Jalen Hurts relationship severed a couple of years ago. He hasn't come out and said that, but with everything going on and circling with the Eagles and Jalen Hurts, maybe that's the part that he's just, look, I just don't like the guy. I don't want to be here, and I need to move on.
And you're halfway to where I was going with it, in the sense of when you're talking about can A.J. Brown maybe be fixed. And the big rumor, if you missed it, is he'll be a Patriot on like June 2nd. The Eagles can't trade him until after June 1st because of salary cap issues. The Patriots want him. Can Mike Vrabel fix him? That kind of thing. But on the A.J. Brown, can he be fixed thing, there have been rumblings. You're right. Nobody's confirmed anything, but there's been rumblings that in the locker room, A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts have not been great for the last couple months. And the reason I confirmed he was the book guy does this play to what's very easy for the Rob and Steve show, because we've been wondering this. You said he's just tired of Philadelphia. Could it be he's just tired of Jalen Hurts and Coach Nick Sirianni? Combine the two. The reading the book thing isn't really a finger in the eye of Jalen Hurts. It's a finger in the eye of the coach or the organization or the team. And I'm not happy here. Okay, but why? Are you unhappy there because it's Philadelphia, or are you unhappy because of Sirianni and Hurts and you want to get out? Which would lend to the argument, because I made you pick Brown or Pickens. I guess the other follow-up question to that is, would you want either one of them? Or if it's your team, or you're like, I'd rather just not touch
I would take A.J. Brown. I do believe that he is fixable. And I hadn't put in the Nick Sirianni part, but that's probably as big of a part as the Jalen Hurts for him, if that is the reason that he has taken this stance.
As I mentioned, we're going to kind of bounce around all the sports, and what's the big headline from either last night or today? And the Mets. The Mets returned to New York yesterday. Although both, manager Carlos Mendoza and shortstop Francisco Lindor had both commented on Monday that it was not going to be pleasant. It was going to be loud, a lot of boos. It wasn't, because no one showed up. The few thousand fans in attendance, because it was so cold in Queens, first pitch, it was 46 degrees, didn't really make much noise until the third inning, when shortstop Francisco Lindor hit his 3-run homer to open the scoring and give the Mets their biggest lead since April 5th. And then they're tied at 3 in the ninth. Remember, they're in New York, so I don't have a problem with this. I'll ask Steve real quick before the end of the story. But so the Mets are at home. It's tied up. It's 3-3, top of the ninth. They brought in their closer, Devin Williams. When you're at home, I don't have a problem with that, because you're not saving your closer for anything. If he's your closer and you're trying to stop the other team, give him 2 innings, give him the ninth, give him the 10th, and take a shot at let's win this right now. If you're at home, you're an idiot. You save him to save the game once your team scores. Do you agree with that logic?
I have no problem with him coming in. He's their big free agent signer. He's their closer. We need to win a game. I think it backs up that coach's feeling of we have to hold them here. Hopefully we can score in the bottom of the ninth. Didn't bother me at all. It's just his performance that was so
Awful.
Met-esque there. Just like the Mets have been playing, he couldn't register an out, gave up 2 runs.
Completely imploded. Just
He imploded. The whole team has imploded.
So the Mets have now lost their 12th consecutive game. They did fall, and they didn't even put up a whimper in the bottom of the ninth. Like you could just tell everything had been sucked out of the New York Mets by exactly that. Right to script. Even Devin couldn't close them out, and now we're down two. But whatever. I mean, that inning was over like that. Mets fall 5-3 to the Twins. Now, as of 30 minutes, I don't know if you have any late breaking stuff. As of when I checked half an hour ago, the Twins hadn't announced their starter for today yet. If they have, we'll find it. Now the Mets are throwing Clay Holmes. Not a bad year so far. 2-2, 1.96 ERA. I mean, do we give the Mets a shot today? And Soto's back. That's the big news, right?
That is the big news, that Soto is back. And the Twins have announced it's left-hander Connor Prieliper. I don't know how to fully say the last name. It is his major league debut. And one of the things as a sports bettor, normally looking at pitchers for their major league debut, you get a pretty good price. And it's really not a bad time to take a shot on that rookie. And not saying the Twins are going to win here, because I said yesterday, if Nolan McLean gets beat and the Mets lost last night, and then Juan Soto shows up today at home and they get beat tonight, I know the Mets keep saying they're not in panic mode. It's early. But I really think the Mets and the fans and the media got to be saying it's doomsday if the Mets go and lose again today.
Well, and that brings up the endless question of, so, and we were talking about this yesterday. Is there, how much of a flex room is there for Mendoza, in that, okay, Soto's been out. He's not the only thing wrong with the Mets losing 12 in a row, but he comes back. And so it's like, okay, we're not going to fire him last night. But today, Soto, well, it's one game with Soto. But you're right. If the Mets go to 13 in a row and 14 in a row, how long can they hang on before they do something? Because the stories are everywhere. The fans that are even paying attention are restless. Everybody's restless. You add in the second biggest payroll in baseball, and that is such a big thing hanging over them. It's not like they were a team that's right in the middle or lower on the payroll that everybody had high expectations for, and they're just not performing. This is the Mets again, with all that money being spent, and they're now teetering on 13 in a row.
And the thing that you kind of hinted at and brought up as you were inquiring into your question, the attendance. If the attendance falls off, you said last night they didn't draw that many fans. If the fans stop showing up and we're only in April, they have to make a move. They cannot give up the fan base this season, and the attendance and the revenue that comes from going to the game this early in the season to say, okay, let's become a Yankees fan, or let's bring on the Jets or the Giants. I mean, where do those fans go at this point? And the attendance, to me, is a big, big factor, because they're on the verge of losing their attendance for the season as well.
And it's easy to say, well, it's a Tuesday night and it was cold. Yeah, okay, first of all, it's New York. 46 degrees at opening pitch. New Yorkers can handle it. When you add in it's a Tuesday night, yeah, it's not the most pleasant evening on the planet, and it's the Mets who are sucking. That there are a lot of geographical stereotypes that bug me, right? Not everybody in Texas owns a gun, and not everybody in California surfs. There are some stereotypes, though, that fit. And New Yorkers are the kind of people, spend a lot of time with a lot of New Yorkers. They are the kind of they're like, screw it. You know what? Usually I'd have a dog, I'd have a beer. The Mets, they suck. I don't even have the energy to go boo. So there is something to be said there about the Mets, the fans, that they weren't there at first pitch, and now there's a bunch of controversy over, wait, did the Mets announce paid attendance or actual attendance, because they somehow got the attendance into the low 30s on their official report. And if you looked at those stands, whatever. It doesn't change the reality of what Steve's talking about. They know how fed up people are already, and how much longer do you let this go? And what if? Let me throw another what if for it, because it's no fun tomorrow because we already know. What if Soto has an excellent game? What if Soto goes 4 for 5, cracks 2 dingers, and they still lose? Now what?
I think it gives them some hope. They have nothing outside of Lindor's 3-run homer in last night's game. They had nothing else. I think they had 4 hits in the whole game. And McLean threw a great game. He's their ace. He's the one who's got to stop these losing streaks. And yet they went on to lose with him on the mound as well. There's nothing good coming out of there in any form. And if Soto has a good game and they lose, at least there's something to cling to. He's gonna turn it around. He will keep hitting. That'll bring Lindor around. That'll bring these other bats around, and they'll start scoring runs, which will lead to wins. So they'll have something. What if he goes 0 for 4 with 4 Ks and they get beaten? They get 3 hits and they get shut out again tonight off a rookie debut that no one knows who he is, and I cannot pronounce his last name.
Yeah, Perriello or whatever the hell it is. So a win tonight buys Mendoza a little bit of time as the manager, right? Because he's the one. You made the joke last week about the hitting coach. We're beyond that. Mendoza, the manager, he's the one that you can't fire Soto. You can't fire whatever. And it's everything. The Mets are sucking at everything. Okay, they're getting a few good performances from their pitching staff, but then the closer last night can't do his job. The word close is in there. It's literally in your job description. Now, granted, you were in a tie game, but you did nothing. You didn't even pitch an inning. You didn't pitch a third of an inning. You sucked. You couldn't get anybody out. So it's the manager. A win would get Mendoza another game, but he's on the hot seat for a while, including the Rockies come in next. And if they get swept by the Rockies after winning once with Soto, he's got to be gone.
Which brings me to the question, because I was going to text you this one last night, just watching the Cubs-Phillies game as well. Who gets fired first, Thompson with the Phillies or Mendoza with the Mets? And Thompson got the vote of confidence today from Dombrowski, which we all know is the kiss of death. So who gets fired first? I would say it's a dead heat in my opinion right now.
Yeah, but if you're gonna do the whole you can't push thing, I would still side with Mendoza because it's the Mets, because it's the second highest payroll. I don't think he's long for this world. I don't think Thompson has a lot of room, but and the way New Yorkers are, and if they really do start marching away with their feet, I would say it's going to be Mendoza, but I wouldn't be surprised if they both got fired on the exact same day, too.
A doubleheader.
Speaking of texting, last night I texted Steve because we're going to stay in New York, but we're going to move upstate. If you're a fan of any kind of sports, as we were talking yesterday, the Buffalo Sabres are such a great story. They're in the postseason for the first time. They got there in 14 years. They got their first win, and Buffalo went insane inside the arena, outside the arena. So it's like, and Steve, you had said yesterday, hey, I hope they win the whole cup. What a story. Okay. So, but I texted Steve because there's so much sports on yesterday. Look, I know we're spoiled. Okay, we're spoiled. I get it. Steve works at the sports book, has his 418 screens on. He's watching everything. But it was such a great night. If you have access to everything, to flip between postseason hockey, postseason basketball, football. Baseball, because you had different games. I had local games with the A's. The Yankees Red Sox game was on, and then if you had the animal. Oh my God, it was just endless. So I made sure that the Buffalo Sabres were part of it. But after that second period, I texted Steve. I said I've given up on the Sabres for today. Ultimately, the Bruins beat them 4-2. They've evened up their series 1-1, and that series goes back to Boston tomorrow night.
When they cut it to 4-2, I almost texted you and said, there is no way they can pull this out again. You can't keep putting yourself in this big hole. And they 4-2, Crowd was rocking. The arena was going crazy, but that was kind of where it ended.
And I did when it was 3-0. I still kept checking it when it went to 4-0. I kind of sort of forgot to keep checking in, and then I did see on my feed that it was up to 4-2, and I clicked over, and I forget where they were in the game, but I said, "Nah, I don't think so." But hockey and basketball in particular, lately, the last few seasons, you can't rest on. And you even texted me at one point. I think you said it was either 3 or 4-0. You said, "Yeah, they're not coming back from that." And then, sure enough, you're right. They tried. But the series is even. Is the Sabre story over?
No, let's keep it going. It's 1-1. They can win in Boston. Boston does look like the better team. I mean, they're coming out, they're dominating. But I'm not hanging up my hopes for the Sabres yet.
Okay, right, and they're not done because a lot of people also, if you don't follow hockey, all you hear is Boston and or the Bruins. You're like, oh, well, they're clearly the better team. They're the Boston Bruins because legacy team. They've been around forever. They're one of the big ones. But just on the ice, there's still reason to believe in the Sabres.
Yes.
All right. Next story, NBA. Steve Kerr, head coach of the Warriors for now. He arrived at training camp this last season, according to multiple sources, prepared for the 25-26 season to end his 12-year tenure as head coach of the Warriors. That was already being talked about. And then when it leaked out that Kerr was the one who had dismissed the idea of extending his contract, Kerr was one that I don't talk about any extensions. That made a whole bunch of people more go, yeah, he's going to ride out this season. And people are now publicly saying, I don't know how true it is, he was envisioning that Cinderella thing. Can I get this team back to the finals, to the conference finals even? And then, of course, things just kind of imploded and everything. Everything came to an end on Friday when Golden State lost to Phoenix, and now everybody starts to go, what's going to happen? And we knew the what's going to happen thing was going to come. It's going to come with a variety of teams and names and players. With the Warriors, we were kind of focused as much on what are they going to do as a team? Are they going to keep the old guys around? Are they going to burn it down? Are they going to try to meet in the middle? And we would throw in Steve Kerr a little bit, and he's the story now. So on Monday, they did their exit interviews. The general belief amongst the Warriors and around the league yesterday is, and moving into this morning, Kerr's done. He's going to meet with general manager Mike Dunleavy and CEO Joe LeCobb. We're told maybe as early as today they're meeting. The decision is expected in a matter of days, not weeks. Yesterday we read LeCobb's quote that if Kerr comes back, he's coming back because he's all in. He's not coming back because he's sentimental about Steph and Draymond or taking one more. He's coming back because he's all in, and we would want a multi-year contract extension with him. And we thought that's actually pretty smart as an owner. Sources it quoted in, this is NBC Sports Bay Area. Oh, this is that guy. Oh man, I didn't cut out his byline. This guy has been writing for the Warriors for years, or about the Warriors. He's really connected. He cited a source that said they could offer Steve Kerr $25 million a year, and that alone wouldn't make the difference, end quote. So you've got the Warriors saying, we want this level of commitment and buy-in. The word is that Kerr, if he's going to coach the Warriors, he wants, amongst other factors, renewed faith in his role as the franchise shifts towards the future. He wants a say. He wants to be part of it. He whether he says it or not, he's like, I'm Steve Kerr. Yeah, we got your GM here, and I think they get along from what I've heard, but I want a big part of it. And then it comes down to, do their visions match up? Is Steve Kerr's vision, I want to keep Steph, I want to keep Draymond, and I want to bring in LeBron, I want to bring in whoever, and we're going to take a run. And is Dunleavy's and LeCobb's vision, no, we have to start moving towards the future, and do the heads collide and Steve Kerr go bye-bye? That seems to be what we're waiting to hear from over the next 48 hours.
And I think it just matters how long it's going to take for the Bulls and Steve Kerr's agent to fully reach an agreement there. And as you brought up yesterday, I mean, the Bulls sounding more and more like the perfect scenario. No front office, you get a clean slate. This town loves you. You've have your playing days in Chicago. Reinsdorf is all there. He's a player's owner with Kerr. it really sets up for, as you were starting, I was like trying to look at the Knicks. Like, do the Knicks go after everything is sitting there for the Bulls? And with what you just said, that he went into the season pretty much, this is going to be my last season. He expected Jimmy Butler healthy through the whole season, and it didn't happen. And I don't see why we would think there's going to be anything different as these players continue to age. Let's send them to the Bulls and the misery. I hope their agent and the Bulls are in discussions, because I'd like to see Kerr there.
Well, and this was as you were rattling off yesterday when we were talking about Kerr and if he leaves, where might he go? Will he go anywhere? My mind started to think, okay, well, there's only two openings right now, like official openings, because we made the comment, you're Steve Kerr. There might only be two openings, but there's 10 other teams that'll go, we'll make an opening for Steve Kerr. But where does he want to go? What does he want to accomplish? If he wants to coach, and that's where I just blurted out Chicago because of all the history in the past. But that still doesn't answer that question. Does he want to coach? Is it, I don't want to coach the Warriors in the form that LeCobb and Dunleavy want me to, but I do want to coach? Or is it, I don't want to coach?
What
And
if
we
he
won't know.
became the general manager for the Bulls? I don't want to
Oh,
coach anymore. Let's go run the front office. Let's take a step up there. I bring in a person who can really handle the contracts, the legal aspects of it, and I become more of the GM, because all these teams have their multiple GMs, even though it's not really one GM. They have the ones who handle the contracts and all of that part, and then they have their player evaluator for trades and everything off of that. I don't think he'll end up being a GM, but it'd be cool to see. Give him a
well,
little taste of it, give him a
well,
little control, and let's go coach.
that's the wild card to this whole thing, is that if he came into the season thinking one last time, one last run, the Chicago thing is what came out of nowhere. He had no reason to believe when he initially entered with that attitude at the beginning of the season that he would have a shot at coaching Chicago or being part of Chicago. And then all these dominoes start to fall. And so has that made him go, well, I was thinking I'd take a year or two off, or I'd go into politics, or I'd get into announcing, but wait a minute, my old team, they got nobody, they got nothing. And so you wonder, we can't be the only guys that are thinking this. You got to believe Steve Kerr is thinking it. Like you said, his agent hopefully yesterday was like, hey, what's going on over there?
I would like to have thought that his agent was informed of this going into the season. And as soon as the Bulls made their moves and fired the front office, if not even earlier than that, said, hey, any interest here in Steve Kerr if by chance things should open up and play out? And maybe the Bulls said, yeah, what do you need? New front
Yeah.
office, let him have some chart. Let's just clean up. But the Bulls were going to do that anyway. So you can't say it was because of phone call from his agent, which helped open it up. But, sometimes that power of suggestion helps a little bit, nudge things along.
Can't say it, but you can certainly entertain it. Because it's not out of the realm of possibility at all whatsoever that something like that was going on. And then out of nowhere, Dunleavy goes in and he meets with the owner only, because that's the only person that's left in Chicago, and says, "Yeah, I'm gonna walk away." Well, what was said? Because was in that meeting, do they already know? We're getting Kerr, so we just have to say the exact opposite of whatever Dunleavy wants to hear, so that he walks away. Not Dunleavy, Donovan. Sorry. Dunleavy's the GM of the Warriors. Donovan was the coach of the Bears. All these D names. By the way, if Steve Kerr departs, there's already there's a one name rumor who would take over the Warriors.
Phil
University-
Jackson.
Yeah, University of
Just
Florida
kidding.
head coach Todd Golden is the name. Well, that was a thud. Nothing. No? Okay.
No, nothing on my end.
Is that not impressive? Is he not worthy of the job? He gets attention for everything, like right now.
I don't know. I'm curious to see where Billy Donovan's going to end up. I
Yeah.
still think Mike Brown, if they go and get beat in the first round, Mike Brown is out in New York. And I think there's a few more coaches that may fall somewhere along the line as well.
The other note that came out of the NBA last night was Wemby, Spurs star Victor Wembanyama, who sustained a concussion on a hard fall during the second quarter. Ultimately, the Blazers beat the Spurs. That doesn't you've got to see. I mean, his head was a basketball on that fall. That was brutal. I got the note that it had happened. I got the notification that it had happened, and it took me a few minutes to actually see the replay of it. His head bounced hard on the floor like 2.5 times. The word is obviously he's in concussion protocol. He can't do full participation for 48 hours. The next game isn't until Friday. So depending on how serious the concussion is, this could not affect anything moving forward. But he hit hard.
He did. I was watching it live and at the time, and then I see him laying there with his eyes closed on the court, thinking, he's just going to take a moment and rest. And then it was like, uh-oh, no, that isn't him. You know, a lot of these players, they just, I'm going to stay down just for a second, regroup. And then you realize, oh, no, this is a lot worse than I originally thought it was.
Closed eyes were reminiscent, although not literally like the Tua thing. When I saw him in the replay where Wemby just kind of closed his eyes and, like you said, he wasn't just okay, get it together. That's when I went, oh, this could be bad. And with concussions, it always comes down to what's the grade. He clearly has a concussion. They put him right into the protocol. That's what they spend the next 24 and 48 hours figuring out. You start getting into like grade 4 concussions, you can have long-term lasting effects. I don't know what the NBA's rules are and all that and such. It seems like I haven't seen any updates yet this morning. It sure seems like everybody's hoping, if not predicting, he'll be back and he'll be fine on Wednesday. But that really does come down to like, how's he moving today? What's his gait? Can he? I've had a grade 4 concussion, and it's weird. You start walking sideways and crab walking and stuff. So you can't play basketball like that. So that's what we hope.
I've been checking all morning for updates. The concussion, it's 24 hours. He cannot participate in any activity after 24 hours. He can start the light activity, and it is 48 hours that he cannot play. So if the game was Thursday, not Friday, he would already be out for that game, but they're going to see how he does in this 24-hour period and how he rebounds before we're really going to get any updates at all.
It's the Rob and Steve Sports Show, only on the radnetwork.com.
Longtime maggots will remember Greg from MAP. MAP, as in Maximum Athletic Performance, which guides you to better output through better ingredients, also known as nutrition. Greg has been on the Rad Show many times and will be again, as he simplifies nutrition and helps us all understand what actually works when it comes to fueling our bodies, almost all of which can be found at maptrition.com. Every product is formulated with clinical precision and backed by science and purpose, and maptrition.com has something for every fitness level, even those of us who barely have a fitness level. With nearly 20 years as a nutritionist and a specialization in sports nutrition, Greg works with athletes and everyday individuals to optimize performance, energy, and overall health through smarter fueling strategies, all of which starts at maptrition.com. At the very least, we should all be taking daily multivitamins, and Greg has his formulated for exactly what a man or woman's body needs. Protein is in, but maybe instead of getting yours from mac and cheese with extra protein, you get it from maptrition.com. And of course, all things workout, training, and exercise are available as well. From pre-workout to creatine and other muscle builders to recovery supplements and more, all at maptrition.com. From morning breakfast essentials to post-workout recovery and everything in between, maptrition.com's full range of supplements, proteins, and wellness products are built to power your journey from start to finish. Check out all the products and find what's right for you and order it shipped to you, all at maptrition.com. That's maptrition.com. Longtime advertiser Sue Berry, that's Berry with an A, is more important now than ever. Sue and her team have been serving Northern Nevada and the outlying areas for 30 years, and her experience in both commercial and residential lending is vital, as every day we're bombarded with news of interest rates, the market, the economy, and a bunch of other stuff that Sue can actually make sense of while everyone else's eyes glaze over. Now remember, it's Sue Berry with an A, B-A-R-R-Y, SueBerry.com. Most people think berry is spelled like a fruit or Halle Berry, but no, it's Sue Berry with an A, like soul singer Barry White's first name.
I've heard people say,
Stop that. Sue is a broker versus a retail lender, which means she can shop over 150 different lenders to get you the very best rate possible. And on average, someone who uses a broker like Sue saves over $10,000 per loan, which includes refinancing. And if you have a rate at 6.5% or higher, call Sue for a free quote now on a refinance. Sue Berry and her incredible team from Barrett Financial can be found at SueBerry.com. That's Barry with an A. I've been working with Sue and recommending her to you for years. All you need to do is call her now so she can get you pre-approved. Just call your residential and commercial lending expert, Sue Berry, at 775-843-9983. Oh, Rob, stop. You're going too fast. What was the number again? 775-843-9983. Or just head to SueBerry.com. The number's right there. Berry is B-A-R-R-Y. Sue Berry with an A.com. That's Sue Berry, B-A-R-R-Y.com. SueBerry.com.
Disclaimer, Sue Berry, NMLS number 366040, Barrett Financial Group, LLC, NMLS number 181106, Nevada 5091, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Steve has been running sports books for decades, and Rob spent decades running radio so far into the ground he just created his own network. This is the Rob and Steve Sports Show on the Rad Network.
One more piece of kind of sort of minor breaking news, just crossed. The San Diego Padres, who are right there, they're right there with the Dodgers, have signed a veteran right-hander to bolster the surging club's injury-plagued rotation with the top starter left on the free agent market. I'm so glad that Steve can help me here, I hope. With how to pronounce this guy's name. He's going to report to the Padres in mid-May. He's a SoCal native. He went 10-4 with a 3.41 ERA last year with Steve's Boston Red Sox. Became a free agent after he declined his end of a $19 million mutual option with the Red Sox. Lucas
Giolito.
All right. Lucas Giolito will be a Padre about a month from now, mid-May, after he builds up his endurance. What's a guy like that doing on the beach? I mean, that's a pretty good year.
Well, he was looking for a spot. I was surprised he wasn't signed during the off season. The thing that jumps out at me is that shows me that Nick Pivetta, the Padres pitcher who went down, is going to be out a little bit longer than we had hoped. I got to believe he's going to be down now at least like a couple of months for them to go pick up Giolito. And it's a great signing. It adds depth to that starting rotation. And worked out great for Giolito, as you said, from Southern Cal. Now he can play close to home, that great weather, and just a wonderful city in San Diego. And get paid to play baseball.
A team that's in it, the team that's in the mix. They're right there with the Dodgers. More baseball coming up. We already did a little bit. We were talking about Steve and I were texting yesterday back and forth about a variety of games going on. And one of the comments, and you did, how do you say it? Good to see the Canadians winning again on the road so far, or something like that. And then it took overtime for the Tampa Bay Lightning to get a 3-2 win over the Montreal Canadiens. They tied the first round playoff series to 1, and game 3 is Friday when they do go back to Montreal.
Yeah, that was a big win for Tampa Bay. They can't go back to Montreal having dropped the first 2 games here. Took overtime. That was a hard-fought game throughout its entirety. Great game. Montreal just continues to surprise me. I mean, this was a $2 dog in the series. I was one of those who had advanced Tampa Bay. They're going to beat Montreal. It'll be a tough series, but Tampa Bay is the better team here. But Montreal has played great, pushed them to the brink. Tampa Bay needed that win last night.
That was so frustrating because I got your text. I wasn't really paying attention to that game much. And it was shortly after your text that I noticed, oh, they're going to overtime. And the games were all on ESPN or ESPN2, and it was way late. Like it had run way into the Vegas Golden Knights game, which was the next game. And so I flipped, ESPN head, I go to ESPN2 or ESPN News or whatever, and I'm clicking back and forth because they had another one on ESPN. So what ultimately happened was that the Golden Knights game was on both ESPN2 and ESPN News, and on ESPN News they're showing the Golden Knights, and it says up in the right corner, the Canadians game is on ESPN2. And if you flip over, no, it's not. It's the same feed. It's the Golden Knights. I'm like, what are you guys doing? It's like they never fixed. I don't know if they ever fixed it, but for like 3 or 4 minutes, I'm going back and forth. I'm checking social media, and people are like, what's going on with these games on ESPN?
Sorry, Rob. Next time I will call you along with my wife. I called her up and said that the Canadians Lightning game is on ESPN2. They were in their intermission going to overtime, and the Knights game was playing the first period. So they were showing that on it. So I informed my wife that you need to make sure you're on ESPN News when this other game ends. And my wife's wonderful. Well, hopefully the overtime the first period will be over before the overtime starts, and then the overtime will end while they're in their first intermission of the Knights game, and I won't miss anything. But I had to fill her in so that she could follow it because I know she'd have become so frustrated with where to go. Now, where do I go? Where do I watch the Knights? That's the game I want to watch. So I'll keep you in mind as well when we hit that the next time.
Because I was right there with her, and a lot of it was the frustration of trying to go from, oh, now I'm adding this game into watching the NBA, into watching MLB. Why am I not getting? It didn't even occur to me. Oh, they just went to overtime. They're in intermission. That's why I'm getting the night. And so I just didn't circle back. And by the time I figured it out, I got the alert that Canadians had lost anyways.
And it's the advantage of 24 different games on in my office at a time, so I can follow where they're at.
Which, by the way, do you have to send me a picture every time that we're talking about sports of your wall of TVs? It's like every time it's like, look at that. Look at all these TVs.
No, I think the picture really was meant that the Mets are imploding here, and I was loving it and just showing you because I think Devin Williams was on the mound in the picture, just like frustrated. You could see it. And it was like, so sorry, I'll stick to text. No more visuals.
But I didn't notice actually in the picture. At that point had you moved? So Steve's got this wall of TVs, but there's the main TV, the big TV, the sound TV. Had you moved the Mets game to that TV?
No, I had the NBA on the wall. I had in the bottom right the four hockey games, and then I had the baseball. Was the top four, the middle four, and part of the left four were all the rest of the baseball games.
Now that you remind me, I did notice that because I was looking at the picture and I was already asking myself last night, does he have the Mets? And then I got sidetracked by your OCD, your need to organize. And it makes sense to me. I would do the same thing. I think we all have a version of OCD, ADD, whatever. You organize them by sport. Lower right corner hockey, upper right corner. Makes total sense to me. Very neat and orderly.
And I drive my supervisors, and I've always done this, drive them crazy because I've spent a lot of times in sports, not just working, but I love to go to all the different sports books, watch the games, etc. And the ultimate is you need to sit there with all the screens, but you need to not be able to move your head and just move your eyes and catch them. So they need to be grouped because if I'm watching hockey, I don't want to look way to my left to see one game and way to my right to see the other game. I want the hockey grouped. And if I want the baseball, I want them grouped. And then if I need more, because I need 15 games going on that I want to watch at once, then it's up to me to move my head. But if you're just looking at a particular sport, you need to just be able to focus and just move your eyes.
Good tip for all of us who hope to wind up someday with a wall of 24 TVs in some room. Back to hockey. You had said yesterday you were really looking for the Golden Knights to steal another one at home. The Mammoth got a 3-2 win. They'll head back to Utah with a split of the first two games. And the game 3 will be Friday in Salt Lake City. I know we keep repeating it because it's true. Once the road team wins, it becomes a series. And if I understood you yesterday correctly, you think a lot of people are looking past the Mammoth. I think you still have the Knights winning, but the Mammoth aren't to be slept on.
Mammoth are not to be slept on. If you remember last week, that was the lower seed. I said keep an eye on. Not that they're going to win the Stanley Cup, but they could get, to the Western Conference Finals just because how it sets up. Because the Avalanche, when they win here, are going to be playing the winner of the Wild and the Stars series. So that's 3 of the top 4 are in the top end. And the Knights have their weaknesses. You saw it. They played a tough game, but the Mammoth, found a way to pull it out.
Now, as we've been going through these various series, as is in the NHL and the NBA, there's some series that are still they're real, and then there's others where it's like this is over. Does this fall under in the hockey realm, Steve? It's over. The Avalanche beat the Kings 2-1. They're up 2-0 in the first. Is it Colorado? They're just too much, aren't they, for the Kings?
Colorado has been, in my opinion, hands down the best team in the NHL all season from opening day all the way till now. They are too good. The Kings are a good physical team. Keep the game close, keep it low scoring, make it a rock fight. That's what they like to do. But Colorado has too many weapons, and we watched it again. Uh, yesterday. It's 2-0. The Avalanche are going to advance.
Is because we see this a lot. You can be the best for all season. You can be the best going into the playoffs, and hockey especially. Sometimes you get a curveball. In your mind, is it Colorado's Stanley Cup to lose?
Yes, it is. I don't think anyone in the West is really going to beat them as much as I like the Stars. Think the Wild have had a really good season as well. You have the Hurricanes, who I think are the best team out of the East. They always let me down in the playoffs, so I can't get too excited about them because I've had high hopes many times in the past. But I do think the Avalanche are still a good step ahead of the Hurricanes and the Stars. I don't think it's jumbled in there slightly. I think they are significantly better.
Three games in the NHL tonight. So last night it was ESPN centric. Now we go to the Turner family, even though Ted Turner doesn't have anything to do with the various networks. So you got two games at four and then 6:30 on TNT, True TV, that family, and then the standalone game at 7 is on TBS. And in order, the first one's the big one in terms of just old school names. 4 o'clock. Pittsburgh is at Philadelphia, and it's 2-0 that Philly leads the series. I already saw some quotes from some of the Penguins. They're saying the obvious. The players' version of it's a must win because it is pretty damn close to a must win.
It is, but this is a pick 'em game. It just shows these two teams how close they are. Home ice in this rivalry is really not a factor like you will see it in so many others. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 2-2 going back to Pittsburgh.
Oh, that's right, because hockey does the 2-2-1-1-1 thing. Because I'm still like, from 30 years ago. I'm always thrown off by, wait, 2-3-2. Who does? Oh, baseball does that. Everybody else is 2-2-1-1-1. Really? You think so? Well, I mean, it was just done too. You think Pittsburgh can just win two on the road? So we're just going to have road teams winning endlessly. They're that close.
I think this one's going 7. Even if it's 3-1 going back to Pittsburgh, I think the Penguins find a way to win game 5 to make it go to game 6. And then you're looking at a coin toss there, a 50-50 shot on whether or not we get it to game 7.
You just alluded to the other one at 6:30 before we get to the late game. The one where, two of the better teams, one's going away. Dallas is at Minnesota. That's at 6:30. That series tied at one apiece. Did I hear you earlier say you like the Stars? Do you have the Stars like ahead of the Wild? Do you think they're going to be better? They're going to come out of this eventually?
I think the Stars are a slightly better team. Ottinger had his struggles in game 1. The team supported him. And as you remember last year, DeBoer was the one who rolled Ottinger. And Ottinger's one of the best goalies in the NHL. Their head coach, DeBoer, and this really got him fired, rolled Ottinger, blaming him for their failure in the postseason. DeBoer got fired over that. Ottinger is a great goaltender, had a misstep game 1. But Volstead, the goalie for the Wild, has really picked it up late in the year. I mean, he's saving it almost a 92% clip. He's playing great, and that's the part. I love those hot goalies. This one, I think, is also going to go the distance, but I give the slight edge to the Stars because I think they're a slightly better team.
Why aren't you mentioning Edmonton more in this overall thing? They're at home against Anaheim. They're still Edmonton.
Yeah, they are, but they just I'm not sold. They got to the Stanley Cup Finals. I'm not sold that they are. I can't even put them in the top 4 in the West. I would put, the Avalanche, the Wild, and the Stars, the Golden Knights, and then you hit slightly behind. I got that homer in the Golden Knights. I'd put the Oilers 5th, so I can't sit there and say, "Look, they're gonna win the Stanley Cup."
In our opening segment, one of the breaking or the big stories from yesterday, we talked about Wemby going down after bouncing his head like a basketball last night, at least twice, if not 3 times. Concussion protocol. Their next game isn't until Friday, and depending on how Wemby's doing today, it won't be an issue. We'll see. Um, Along the way, Scoot Henderson scored 31. The Trailblazers took advantage of and this is actually my question. The way this is being reported, did they take advantage of Wemby being out? Is that why the Trailblazers won? I mean, it was close, 106, 103. It's so easy to say, well, if Wemby would have been in there, it would have been completely different. Well, of course, it would have been completely different. Do we pin this victory for the Trailblazers on Wemby was out?
No, I pin this on the Spurs. And yes, they lost 106, 103. Spurs were up 99-90, I think, with like 3 or 4 minutes to go. Blazers never gave up, kept coming at them, played hard. Drew Holiday, just if you watch that game, just I love the Holiday brothers, and Drew Holiday is my favorite. He is so unbelievable. He does so many things for an unsung hero. But my real disappointment was with the Spurs. They hit the last 4 or 5 minutes. No one took control. And I kept sitting there going, De'Aaron Fox is there.
Hello.
This is what he did for the Kings. Take control, lead them. And it was like a hot potato. Nobody wanted the ball. They just kept passing off. They'd end up being forced to take a bad shot. And it was like, where is anyone? I mean, Castle, Vassell, De'Aaron Fox, because all the games I've seen with the Kings, I kept waiting for De'Aaron Fox to step up. Nothing happened. They folded like a cheap tent. It was sad to watch. They never should have lost that game. But with Wemby not on the court, it was like, well, who's going to take the ball? Who's going to make that clutch shot? And they all choked and all gave it up.
Well, and you saw it the same way I did, because I clicked over, I don't know, midway through the third quarter. We knew at that point Wemby wasn't coming back. I don't remember the score, but the Spurs were way up at that point, relatively speaking. It was more than the 9. What'd you say? They were up by 9 with X minutes to go. But like in midway through the third quarter, they were up by like, I don't know, we could check the box score, 15-ish, 14-12. I'm like, oh, okay. They've made the adjustments. Okay, they're going to be fine. So I didn't pin it on Wemby wasn't in there either. I didn't watch as intently as you did, but to go that far, to have it in control, and then just go, we don't know what to do. They'll be fine if Wemby's back, but that wasn't their best showing. Now, we got the note, 2 hours-ish before the Laker game last night, because we were waiting. It was game time. Maybe it wasn't even that close. Maybe it was even closer to less than 2 hours. That the Houston Rockets had Kevin Durant back for game 2 of their first round matchup last night. He was out in game 1 with that knee injury, and nobody really talked about that. All everybody talked about when everybody got back to work on Monday was LeBron. LeBron is willing the Lakers. Look at that. And if he wills them all the way, the Lakers are going to get Luka back. And what if they get Austin Reeves? And then guys like Steve would say, you do realize Durant wasn't playing, which he wasn't. He didn't play the whole game. Well, Durant was playing last night, and the Rockets still lost. The Lakers said, hey, Marcus Smart, you get him. In the end, Durant did score 23 points, but LeBron led LA with 28 points, and the Lakers won 101-94-2-0 in that series. It's the same thing, Steve. Is LeBron carrying this team?
No, I'm still not gonna give him that, even though everyone in the media did. I'm watching the game going, I kind of like this Lakers team with Marcus Smart and Luke Kennard. Luke Kennard, 23 and 27 game 1, 23 in this game. Marcus Smart, I think he had 15, 25. I liked this version of the Lakers better than the Luka show. They played better defense, great ball distribution. They knew they were shorthanded. And this was a Laker team I did not dislike. And I found myself at times, even though I've been very critical of them, actually cheering for the Lakers with what they're doing. And LeBron is still great. I'm not taking anything away from him. He distributes the ball. He had a reverse jam. I mean, he was having a lot of fun in this game too. And Smart and Kennard could not have done this on their own. But I thought the team gelled better, played more team basketball, did the things they need to do to win games, as opposed to the more me show. I got to get my ball time and I have to do this. Uh, I liked watching this Laker team last night.
Well, you and I both love chaos, especially in our sports world. And at this point now, I really want the Lakers to win this series because I want to watch the chaos of what happens then. Because everything is going to turn to, okay, presumably no one else has played. It's been LeBron and everyone else doing what they do. Okay, what Luca? Is Luca available? Is Austin available? Are they ready? Can they gel? Because all of that chaos is going to, and I just want that to continue a little while longer because it's fun. It's just fun for me. And do they? It would be a pretty big story if they got both Luca and Austin Reeves back. Which I don't know where all that's coming from. That people are saying, oh yeah, especially Austin Reeves. He was like out 6 weeks originally with his oblique, and now they're saying, well, maybe he could be back.
Yeah, I could see Luca coming back. I don't see Austin Reeves coming back unless they're in like the Western Conference Finals. I just don't see it prior to that. And I am to the point. Let the Lakers sweep the Rockets. Let's get Luca back. And then at that point, let's see, what do we have here? And at that point, they will then face, just to confirm before I jump out on the land, they then face the Thunder and let the Thunder just roll them, sweep them. Luca's back. Team looks a mess and let them go away.
Yeah, see, that's why I love it. Is let all that build up high, and then all that. Can the Lakers with Luca back? Can they take on OKC? No, they won't. And then we get to go through the next drama of okay, now what are the Lakers going to do? What is LeBron going to do? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What the hell? What the Celtics? They just got okay. The Sixers 111-97. The series shifts back to Philadelphia for Game 3 on Friday. That one was kind of an out of nowhere. Okay, I guess Philly's taking this one, sort of thing.
And they look good from the get-go. They took total command of this game. Edge Chrome had a great game. I mean, he lit it up, 30 points. Tyrese Maxey, the star that he is, I think he averaged 28 plus during the season, 29 points there. But this is the Achilles heel for the Celtics. They didn't shoot the ball well, 13 for 50 from three. They live and they die by it, but on occasion they have that game. They're such a good team. They have that game. And if you remember last year, I would sit there and just shake my head. I believe it was against the Pacers going, look, just take the ball inside. Why do you continue to just take threes? You can dominate inside. You're not doing it. And you're allowing them to be in these games and to beat you when you know, sorry, is the series against the Knicks, because you watch the Pistons transition and run it right at the Knicks, and the Knicks couldn't stop it. And the Celtics saw the blueprint and didn't follow it. And they ended up beating the Knicks, but it was like, how do you not follow that blueprint? But they get stuck into these games that we're going to just continue to shoot threes, even when we're not making it. And it cost them the game. I'm not worried on them on the series. They're still my favorite to go to the finals. Watching the Celtics sometimes gets frustrating because they are so talented. They can go to other things, which is one of the things I love about the Thunder is, look, we can play transition basketball. We can shoot some threes. We can do whatever you need to outside of beating the Spurs to win. We can transition our games. The Celtics just, this is what we do, and we're going to stick to it.
Last night against the Sixers, Boston was 13 of 47 from the three-point line. They shot 39% from the field overall, and they committed 13 turnovers that led to 16 points by the Sixers. Just sloppy on the Celtics' part. 2 games tonight. ESPN has them both. Your Detroit Pistons, Steve, they are back home or they're still at home, at game 2 against Orlando, who somehow leads this series.
8.5-point favorites here. They have to win their first home playoff game since 2008. Make it happen tonight. They can't afford to go down 2-0 to the Magic and then go back to Orlando. I hope is there. Fandom is there because I am a Pistons fan. Man, I'm going to be crushed if they go and lose tonight.
And the other series, this is one that we did pronounce. Why are we playing this? But OKC is at home. I mean, it's only 1-0. OKC is up, but they're hosting Phoenix again. I mean, maybe Phoenix pulls the Sixers here and surprises OKC at home, and yay.
We'll take the points because it's sitting at 17 and a half point favorites for a playoff game. Think about that. An NBA playoff game, and we're sitting at 17 to 17 and a half. You can take a flyer, $10 down on the Suns at plus 11 or plus 12 on the money line just to make the game interesting. You're going to get heartbroken at the end of the game when you throw the ticket in the trash, where if you take the points, chances are you are going to cash. But for us to get money on the Suns, you got to put the spread this high because no one gives the Suns any chance of not winning the series. They don't even give them a shot at winning a game.
Rob and Steve continue next, only on the radnetwork.com.
Longtime advertiser Sue Berry, that's Berry with an A, is more important now than ever. Sue and her team have been serving Northern Nevada and the outlying areas for 30 years, and her experience in both commercial and residential lending is vital, as every day we're bombarded with news of interest rates, the market, the economy, and a bunch of other stuff that Sue can actually make sense of while everyone else's eyes glaze over. Now remember, it's Sue Berry with an A, B-A-R-R-Y, SueBerry.com. Most people think berry is spelled like a fruit or Halle Berry, but no, it's Sue Berry with an A, like soul singer Barry White's first name.
I've heard people say,
stop that. Sue is a broker versus a retail lender, which means she can shop over 150 different lenders to get you the very best rate possible. And on average, someone who uses a broker like Sue saves over $10,000 per loan, which includes refinancing. And if you have a rate at 6.5% or higher, call Sue for a free quote now on a refinance. Sue Berry and her incredible team from Barrett Financial can be found at SueBerry.com. That's Berry with an A. I've been working with Sue and recommending her to you for years. All you need to do is call her now so she can get you pre-approved. Just call your residential and commercial lending expert, Sue Berry, at 775-843-9983. Oh, Rob, stop. You're going too fast. What was the number again? 775-843-9983. Or just head to SueBerry.com. The number's right there. Berry is B-A-R-R-Y. Sue Berry with an A.com. That's Sue Berry, B-A-R-R-Y.com. SueBerry.com.
Disclaimer, Sue Berry, NMLS number 366040. Barrett Financial Group, LLC, NMLS number 181106, Nevada 5091, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Longtime maggots will remember Greg from MAP. M-A-P, as in Maximum Athletic Performance, which guides you to better output through better ingredients, also known as nutrition. Greg has been on the Rad Show many times and will be again, as he simplifies nutrition and helps us all understand what actually works when it comes to fueling our bodies, almost all of which can be found at maptrition.com. Every product is formulated with clinical precision and backed by science and purpose, and maptrition.com has something for every fitness level, even those of us who barely have a fitness level. With nearly 20 years as a nutritionist and a specialization in sports nutrition, Greg works with athletes and everyday individuals to optimize performance, energy, and overall health through smarter fueling strategies, all of which starts at maptrition.com. At the very least, we should all be taking daily multivitamins, and Greg has his formulated for exactly what a man or woman's body needs. Protein is in, but maybe instead of getting yours from mac and cheese with extra protein, you get it from maptrition.com. And of course, all things workout training. training and exercise are available as well. From pre-workout to creatine and other muscle builders to recovery supplements and more, all at maptrition.com. From morning breakfast essentials to post-workout recovery and everything in between, maptrition.com's full range of supplements, proteins, and wellness products are built to power your journey from start to finish. Check out all the products and find what's right for you and order it shipped to you all at maptrition.com. That's maptrition.com.
You know those guys you see in a sports bar laughing and enjoying each other and just talking sports? That's this. Back to the Rob and Steve Show. Email them, ras@theradnetwork.com.
We talked at the start of the show that, yes, the Mets found a way to lose their 12th in a row. They get Juan Soto back today. We'll see how much longer can this go on. The other team in New York had Giancarlo Stanton hit a solo homer in the second and a two-run double as the Yankees extended their winning streak to 4 with a 4-0 win over Steve's Boston Red Sox. Last night, Louis Heel picked up his first win of the season, holding Boston to just 2 hits. We were talking earlier about how the Yankees are going to get 2 major starters back right around by the All-Star game or so. Heel 6 1/3 inning, hadn't gone more than 5 innings in either of his previous 2 starts. Was last night the one, Steve, that as a Red Sox fan you were like this, or was it tonight where you're like we need to well, you need any of them, but this one we need?
No, it was last night. I mean, the Yankees throw Fried tonight. They throw Schlittler tomorrow. They needed to. They couldn't even score. I mean, it was an ugly game. The Red Sox are a really bad team. They have no power. It's been cold there, so I'm hoping that when it warms up, they'll start finding their bats. But the Yankees are, $1.30 favorite on the road tonight against the Red Sox. And, it's Ron Hare Suarez going for the Red Sox. So hopefully that name change, he'll pitch a little bit better and give my Red Sox a shot.
I mean, he had a great outing last time. The Red Sox are 5 back. They're in the cellar in the East. But the problem, when you're playing the Yankees is every game you lose, as we say, it's a 2-game win. And the Red Sox could easily be 7 back after tomorrow. It's not May yet, and then you start to look at the numbers of how many teams are ahead of you, how far back are you, and we keep tracking that certain divisions. I mean, look at the National League Central between first place and the Pirates. The Pirates, who were in first place a week ago, are now in quote last place, 2.5 games behind everybody. That one's bunched. The East, though, and the talent the Yankees have and what they're getting back, you can't get much more than 5 down as a Red Sox or as a Blue Jay and feel like you're in it.
And add to it, regardless how many games, but you got to leapfrog 4 teams. That's tough. There's a lot in front of you. The Blue Jays are playing good baseball again, finally getting back on track. We've been on them so far with their injuries that they've had, but they've won 3 in a row. So Red Sox sitting solidly in that basement. You got to get the 4th before you can get the 1st.
So we mentioned also when we were talking about the Mets, how long do they hang with Mendoza as the manager? And then Steve brought up Rob Thompson of the Phillies because they're now at 7 losses in a row because the Cubs are at 7 wins in a row after beating the Phillies 7-4 last night. And the Phillies have just named, I saw it in Backus is going tonight against Boyd for the Cubs, who is expected to come off the IL for his 3rd start of the season. And as we alluded to earlier, Dave Dombrowski says that manager Rob Thompson is not on the hot seat. Despite the team's 7-game losing streak, Dombrowski said he is not considering moving on from Thompson, who's led the team since 2022. I love this quote. Dombrowski said, quote, "We are not looking to move on. But if we were, that's not something we would ever share."
Is that what he said?
That is an exact quote.
Oh, I love that. It's true. No, if we were going to, we're not going to share.
Which
And Matthew Boyd's coming off the IL today. He's throwing, and just the Cubs are a $1.70 favorite here against the Phillies. Just shows how bad the Phillies. They can't hit. They can't pitch. JT Real Muto, their catcher, is going on the IL, so he is now going to be out as well. There is nothing, and I watched this game last night. There is no life in the Phillies. They're just waiting for the next bad thing to happen. There's no energy. I mean, there's nothing with this Phillies team right now. They're just playing really bad baseball.
obviously what Dombrowski said is true. We all know that if you're considering firing your manager, you're not going to say it out loud. The fact that he had to say that out loud is what makes a lot of us go, why would you say that? We all know that you wouldn't tell us if you were going to fire him and you haven't yet. But now that you're saying it, he's probably fired, like by tonight, kind of thing. The Phillies.
And I'll give you that choice: Mendoza, Thompson. You were going with Mendoza, but now that you've read Dombrowski's quote, I had him in a dead heat. Who do you have?
Well, I'm still saying Mendoza if I have to pick, because I think
Okay.
I really do believe Mendoza is like a game or two away, and maybe Thompson's like 2 or 3 away.
Yes, but after that, because I hadn't seen that quote. After that quote, I might be leaning Thompson is
He
going to
might
go before Mendoza.
he might not be managing by this afternoon at 4:40 when the first pitch is thrown overtime. By the way, the Phillies, they're still the big winners or losers in run differential. Worst in the league, minus 45. Yes, that is worse than in order the Royals, the Mets, and the White Sox. And it's not even close. The Phillies are minus 45. The closest after that are the Royals. They're minus 33 runs on differential. So you saw no light. There's like nothing there. Nothing on a very talented roster.
Yeah, I think they're 26th in pitching, 28th in hitting. That's as bad as you can get.
Ellie De La Cruz hit 2 of Cincinnati's 5 home runs as the Reds scored the first 9 runs to beat the Rays 12-6 yesterday. Cincinnati's won 5 straight. And when I saw this, and I wasn't paying attention much to the game yesterday, I thought, hey, we haven't talked a lot about De La Cruz this year. And I did some double checking. He's second on the team in hitting at 276, and he's got 8 homers and 18 RBIs. He's just kind of like flying sort of kind of a little bit under the radar, even though the Reds are a real team. They won 5 straight, 16-8. And we've always had De La Cruz as one of the, although the shortstop list is getting longer and longer. We used to have him as easily one of the 5 biggest, or 5 best rather. Nice to see his name, and the Reds, we have a non-sexual crush on Terry Francona, so that happens too.
Yeah, and nobody speaks about De La Cruz, what he does defensively. The other night, Blue Jays, Junior Caminero, who just crushes the ball when he hits it. Hit one between short and third, base hit. He thought everyone, De La Cruz, one step dive, got it, got up, and he's got a cannon. He throws like 100 miles an hour first and threw him out at first base. And Caminero was just stunned. He was sitting there. He looked at him. He gave him the sign language, like, "Hey, look, I'm no longer talking to you anymore," because it appeared they were friends. And it's that look. After that, that's it. I'm not talking to you anymore. So it was cool to see the interaction between the two. But any other shortstop in the game, it's a base hit, and De La Cruz threw him out by a step and a half.
We were talking about the National League Central and how they're bunched up 1-5 by 2.5 games. The American League West, you got to keep watching, and the A's technically in first place by half a game over the Rangers, 2.5 over the Angels. The Mariners, who the A's are facing off against, continue to struggle. They've won 4 of their last 10. They're 3.5 back in the Astros at the bottom. The A's and Mariners will go at it at a little after 1, right after the Rob and Steve show ends if you're on the West Coast. Savali against Gilbert. And Seattle, watching that game last night, Seattle is one of these teams, Steve, that looks not quite as bad, but close to what you're describing right now with the Phillies. They don't look like they have a lot of life. There was a little indication later in the game last night where the Mariners seemed to be rallying, and it looked like they didn't, but it looked like they were in the game. So that's why I say they're not nearly as like moribund as the Phillies, but you get the impression, I try not to project, you get the impression that a lot of the Mariners players are going, we weren't supposed to be here. We're supposed to be in first by like 5 games already.
Yeah, their lineup just hasn't hit. I mean, Cal Raleigh, I think he hit his fourth homer last night. He's starting to heat up now. You know, Julio Rodriguez got a couple of hits last night. He's starting to get it going. Those two will be there. Josh Naylor, they traded for him last year. He was a big part of that lineup, hitting behind Raleigh and Rodriguez. He has not gotten going. And the problem I have with him is he is such a streaky hitter. When he's on, he's great, but he can go into what feels like 4 to 6 week slumps and do nothing. So I have some serious question with him, but you're not seeing it. I mean, that bottom half of the lineup, once you get past, Raleigh and Rodriguez, who aren't even doing the best, and now that Brendan Donovan is out as well, there's no one. If Naylor is not going to step up, there's no one there who frightens you. Savali's going tonight for the 8th. He got absolutely torched in his last outing. He had pitched good up to that point, got destroyed. And Logan Gilbert's the Mariners ace. This is the game the Mariners have to win. The A's won it yesterday. Mariners need to win this one and show the A's, look, we're not rolling over. We know you got your good young talent, but we're still there.
We were talking, I don't know, a week and a half ago when all these rumors started about, are the San Francisco Giants already looking at Joe Girardi to come in and right the ship and be better than the last place team in the National League West, or second and a half, second to last rather, depending on when you're looking at it. And you keyed in on the series where the Giants are playing the Dodgers, because we're back to the same thing with the Yankees and Red Sox. Every game is 2 games. You lose to the Dodgers, you go behind a full game. Well, the Giants, they pulled one out. It was 3-1 last night. Now tonight they're in San Francisco, and some guy named Shohei Ohtani is pitching for the Dodgers, which that's on that short list for me. I always try to mention him on the show. If Ohtani or Skeens or Skubal is going, I always try to say, look, whether the game matters or not, this matters. Shohei is must-see TV for me tonight. And the way he's pitching, what is he? Is it a .5 ERA? And you just wonder if the Giants can mount anything tonight.
Yeah, a good thing they won last night. I mean, Landon Roop, great outing. Giants bounced on Yamamoto right in the first inning, 3 runs or whatever it was, right out of the gate. And then pitching took over. Yamamoto settled down, but Roop didn't give up anything. It was a great outing for them. But tonight, they got Melee going. He has really struggled. And I bring up the whip. His whip is almost at 2 so far for the season. You've got up 15 runs in 18 innings. He's allowed, 36 base runners in a little over the 18 innings. Dodgers are a big favorite tonight. They're sitting at $2. It'd be nice to see the Giants find a way to pull this one out. That rivalry always keeps it interesting, just like Red Sox, Yankees. But it's all leaning to the Dodgers tonight.
Which is why, if the Giants could do something that no one expects, people do underestimate and they understate how little things can propel a team, can literally turn, if not a full season around, a full quarter of a season or a half of a season. If the Giants, with the way they've started and all of the expectations behind them, if they become the team tonight that knocks the crap out of Shohei, first of all, it's a national story. It's a national story between 2 West Coast teams. If they were to knock Shohei out in the first 3 innings, not only does it become a national story, the Giants get to go, look at what we did. And does it light a fire? I'm not saying that's going to happen, but this is an opportunity game for the Giants. And the other part is true as well. Do they just go out and get smothered? Do they just not even show? Do they not even put on any type of challenge? And then they're back more towards that morass that they were in before, kind of thing.
Yeah, if they can find a way to win this game, they come back with Logan Webb. He goes the next game. It's probably going to be against Tyler Glasnow. Great pitching matchup here. And the Dodgers have shown a little bit of a kink. They lost 2 games to the Rockies, so now they've lost 3 out of 4. Giants, if they can just put up a fight here and then go with Logan Webb, who, as their ace, has got to step up and throw a great game against the Dodgers. That is that glimmer of hope for the Giants.
Now, I'm going to jump back to the NBA, although it's not really NBA on the court stuff, because I'm very confused. We've all known, and it's all but official now, The NBA will expand into Seattle and Las Vegas, and we've talked about on the show the expansion prices, between $7 and $10 billion. The 10 for the Vegas basketball team, which I say will be 12, especially now that the Padres have sold for $4 billion. And the thing that I don't get, and Steve, you're there at Ground Zero in Vegas. They've got like 6 different proposals for where this team is going to play. There's this thing called, and you'll have a little more insight into it, because there's the Las Vegas Diamond Arena that would be located on the south end of the Strip, northeast corner of Las Vegas Boulevard and Four Seasons Drive, across from Mandalay. So if you know where Vegas is, if you've been to Vegas, Mandalay anchors one end of the Strip essentially. So down on that end, right by Allegiant Stadium. It would be a state-of-the-art 21,000-seat arena that could accommodate an NBA team, concerts, and other global events, which, first of all, thank God, because the one thing Vegas doesn't have are arenas that can accommodate concerts. I love Vegas so much. They do everything so correctly right now. Then you've got MGM Resorts that I don't think anybody took seriously, but they've floated T-Mobile Arena, which has hosted the in-season tournament. The mayor of Vegas, she said she would pitch a vacant downtown site near the World Market Center to Commissioner Adam Silver. And then we have the newly announced Vegas $10 billion development plan directly on the Las Vegas Strip, being pitched as a massive year-round sports and entertainment hub. 63 acres. From Star Vegas, which would be near Las Vegas Boulevard, would include a 50,000-seat soccer and concert stadium that could expand to 60,000 for concerts and festivals. The venue is intended to be purpose-built for soccer and major live events. It also includes a proposed 25,000-seat basketball and concert arena that could go to 30,000. The arena is designed for hockey, combat sports, boxing, NBA, WNBA, Final Four events, and concerts. And it would include an automated quick turn configuration for 12,500 seat events. The development group has already secured $6 billion in funding. Steve, why that one is the one that makes me go, well, that's Vegas. That's the one. It's like they're the ones that came along and said, okay, that's cool that you guys have offered all these things. How about we do this? But you're there. You know some of these names. You know what's going on. What are you hearing? What are you thinking? And where are they going to play?
It seems that every other week we get a new proposal and these multi-billion-dollar ones. The one you just read is the one that's interesting to me. We can expand to 60,000. We can turnkey down to 12,500. We can expand, contract, whatever it is based on the event that's there. That could be a lot of fun if it worked out properly. But I could see a lot of obstruction and various things like that as you try to turnkey it, shrink it, expand it in buildings that really were not meant to be. And I'm wondering if that's the one they're talking by Resorts World, because you hadn't hit on that one. There's the one down Mandalay Bay. There's the one at the fairgrounds up by Circus that they're looking at with downtown. And I know they're talking about one right next to Resorts World.
Which is on the other end.
Yeah, which is on the north end. And who knows? We had 2 more proposals. One I thought was down by South Point in that area that came up, like a year and a half ago. So arenas are popping up everywhere. I don't think anybody's paying any attention to the fact that Las Vegas and the tourist is declining as of lately. These resorts are going to all inclusive to try to get people back to Las Vegas. They're just building more arenas, more concerts, more shows. I'd love to see the MLS get to Vegas. Let's bring them in too. Let's bring in a Major League Soccer team as well. I have no idea because they pop in, they pop out. Everyone's throwing money around to build this arena, and I'm curious to see which one ends up winning.
Well, while they're fighting all this out, when is this NBA team supposed to start playing, and where are they going to play in the interim? Because it doesn't sound like they're going to have an arena ready.
And if I'm the owner of the basketball team, don't I maybe want my own arena with my own? I own the land. It's not leased out. I mean, where's that part? I think I'm glad to hear they have all the options ready, but I think you need to see who's going to own it. Because Rob, if you win and you win the ownership and I'm the one that has the the arena, but you don't like it and you don't like your deal. Who's to say you're going to play in my arena? My arena just doesn't sit empty.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't know how contingent some of these deals are because something's going to be sitting empty. I mean, the MGM Dome, that one's already there. Everything else would be like, well, what are we doing the rest of the time if we don't have the team? And ultimately, whose decision is that? The NBA's decision where this team has to play, or do the owners get a say once we know who they are?
I think the owners will get a say at where they play, and I think the NBA also will have a say on that. I'd love to see it on the south side. Roll it down by Allegiant Stadium, Mandalay Bay. You got the A's ballpark right there on the side of the Tropicana. You got T-Mobile right there by MGM. You put the basketball arena right by Mandalay Bay. All your sports are right there as well. That would be a really nice location.
And everything, Vegas visitors drive me nuts because everything in Vegas, unless you're with a woman in heels, is walkable. Okay, so really the Vegas Strip, and I've stayed at both of them plenty of times, with others in between, obviously, and even on the outliers. Mandalay Bay to Resorts World. That's why I said the other end when we got to Resorts World. You can walk it. Okay, if you're of any health, it's not that big a deal. And you can get around in Vegas, and that's what I love so much about everything being centrally located. And if they put everything on the south side, that's fine. And Mandalay's got to be loving that idea. They've already got a bridge to Allegiant. They're like, well, we'll build another bridge this way.
Right. And even their monorail type system. I mean, you can walk the strip. I've done it so many times with my family. And for the Vegas Golden Knights games, we park at Westgate, jump on the monorail system, and then we take it down to New York. We jump off there and we walk to the arena. So even if you don't want to walk it, you can catch those rides that will take you. For Nevada resident, I think it was like $150. I mean, it's really not a whole lot. Yeah, out of state's a little bit more, but with the Nevada driver's license, but you can walk it. And again, I like the idea of it being down to that end. And this is non-sport related, but just showing how Vegas just does it so much bigger with everything. They're building an In-N-Out Burger, and I don't know if you've heard that. It's 20,000 square feet. It's 2 stories. It's not a drive-in. It is like starts, I think, on the second, or it'll be like the second and third floor, or fourth and fifth. So it's at the top of the building. It'll be rooftop overlooking the strip. Even In-N-Out Burger jumps in on it and says, look, we're going to build this massive In-N-Out as well.
It's the Rob and Steve Sports Show, only on the radnetwork.com.
Longtime maggots will remember Greg from MAP. MAP, as in Maximum Athletic Performance, which guides you to better output through better ingredients, also known as nutrition. Greg has been on the Rad Show many times and will be again, as he simplifies nutrition and helps us all understand what actually works when it comes to fueling our bodies, almost all of which can be found at maptrition.com. Every product is formulated with clinical precision and backed by science and purpose, and maptrition.com has something for every fitness level, even those of us who barely have a fitness level. With nearly 20 years as a nutritionist and a specialization in sports nutrition, Greg works with athletes and everyday individuals to optimize performance, energy, and overall health through smarter fueling strategies, all of which starts at maptrition.com. At the very least, we should all be taking daily multivitamins, and Greg has his formulated for exactly what a man or woman's body needs. Protein is in, but maybe instead of getting yours from mac and cheese with extra protein, you get it from maptrition.com. And of course, all things workout, training, and exercise are available as well. From pre-workout to creatine and other muscle builders to recovery supplements and more, all at maptrition.com. From morning breakfast essentials to post-workout recovery and everything in between, maptrition.com's full range of supplements, proteins, and wellness products are built to power your journey from start to finish. Check out all the products and find what's right for you and order it shipped to you all at maptrition.com. That's maptrition.com. Longtime advertiser Sue Berry, that's Berry with an A, is more important now than ever. Sue and her team have been serving Northern Nevada and the outlying areas for 30 years, and her experience in both commercial and residential lending is vital as every day we're bombarded with news of interest rates, the market, the economy, and a bunch of other stuff that Sue can actually make sense of while everyone else's eyes glaze over. Now remember, it's Sue Berry with an A, B-A-R-R-Y, SueBerry.com. Most people think berry is spelled like a fruit or Halle Berry, but no, it's Sue Berry with an A, like soul singer Barry White's first name.
I've heard people say.
Stop that. Sue is a broker versus a retail lender, which means she can shop over 150 different lenders to get you the very best rate possible. And on average, someone who uses a broker like Sue saves over $10,000 per loan, which includes refinancing. And if you have a rate at 6.5% or higher, call Sue for a free quote now on a refinance. Sue Berry and her incredible team from Barrett Financial can be found at SueBerry.com. That's Berry with an A. I've been working with Sue and recommending her to you for years. All you need to do is call her now so she can get you pre-approved. Just call your residential and commercial lending expert, Sue Berry, at 775-843-9983. Oh, Rob, stop. You're going too fast. What was the number again? 775-843-9983. Or just head to SueBerry.com. The number's right there. Berry is B-A-R-R-Y. Sue Berry with an A.com. That's Sue Berry, B-A-R-R-Y.com. SueBerry.com.
Disclaimer, Sue Berry, NMLS number 366040. Barrett Financial Group, LLC, NMLS number 181106, Nevada 5091, Equal Housing Opportunity.
This is the Rob and Steve Sports Show. Call the show at 888-587-5355 or email the show at ras@theradnetwork.com.
We were talking about Las Vegas and which of the 5 or 6 different arenas the NBA expansion team might play in, and are we done with the proposals now after this big $10 billion idea came out? Who knows? We had talked many weeks ago when they announced, was it Atlanta or whoever the most recent Super Bowl city announcement had come out, that whether or not they need to just rotate through like the 4 main areas. Do you do one in Glendale and New Orleans is in the rotation, Miami, and Vegas, because ideally Vegas is just where you'd hold it all the time, but they have an NFL team now, and so it does. So the reason I bring all this up is, despite that discussion, Steve, I have like no interest every year when they announce where a next Super Bowl is going to be. They're always like 2 or 3 years out. When they announced it was going to be at Levi's Stadium where the Niners play, I was like, okay, whatever. It just doesn't do anything for me. I know everything in the NFL gets hyped, but I just don't. I'm like, whatever. Same thing with it. Because draft is tomorrow. Everybody's together. Everybody's talking. Dan Patrick, and no one has corroborated his report, but he claimed yesterday that a source has confirmed to him that Super Bowl 2030 will take place at Nissan Stadium in Nashville, where the Titans play, and are currently building a new stadium expected to open in 2027, and then 3 years later they'd get the Super Bowl. Okay, whatever. I don't have any reaction to these things, but they get the headlines.
I don't normally have any reaction either. I do think they need to rotate. I think you need to run like West Coast, Midwest, West Coast, East Coast, West Coast. So like 4 years and the West Coast. And the reason I say that is you have, where the Niners play, Levi Stadium, you have SoFi where the Rams are at, and you have Vegas. So you can alternate between those. And then you can hit, the New Orleans and Texas area. Then you can hit the East Coast. But I do now have an interest, and I'm very happy to hear Vegas getting the 2029 Super Bowl. Because if you've paid attention to my retirement plan, I'm planning on being an usher for the Raiders and the A's and the basketball team and the hockey team. So I might finally be able to go to my first Super Bowl and witness it here in Las Vegas and get paid to do it. I get paid to watch the Super Bowl every year with my job. Wouldn't it be wonderful if I retire from my job and find a way to get paid to go to my first Super Bowl?
So the Super Bowl for this season, they stay on the West Coast because they were just at Levi in Santa Clara. They're in L.A., Inglewood this season. Then they go to Atlanta, then Vegas in 29, and then it would be Tennessee in 2030 if this is true. So they are bouncing around. And part of it is that, Steve, you are on that list, even though you and I love snowball. You don't want to ever see the Super Bowl played in the snow. And so that's why your choices get more and more limited as to that's why we wind up on the West Coast and in Florida and in domes like New Orleans and things like that.
And keep in mind, everybody just thinks of the football stadium. It's got to be the accommodations. It's got to be the hotel rooms for the fans and everyone showing up there. It's got to be easy transportation. You don't want it like the World Cup that we're going to see, that they're supposed to get free rides on the subways, and now they want to charge them $150 or whatever it is for the fans to go to the different arenas. You don't want to see that for the Super Bowl. So you have to have all the accommodations with plenty of food, restaurants. Big part is that hotel. And that's why you can't necessarily go to these other cities. Not just the weather, but even some warm weather stadiums are not set up to accommodate a Super Bowl.
It is draft eve. Tomorrow's the draft. We've been pretty light on this show with too much speculation. Certain stories come and go. One of them that we had last week was people were kind of rumbling around about the Browns. What will they do? And it was centered on the quarterback thing. Like would the Browns be the ones that'll ruin Ty Simpson's career because the Browns ruin everything? That was kind of floated out there. Who knows? What we do know is that after the first practice of the Browns' 3-day voluntary veteran minicamp, all pro quarterback Shedeur Sanders, that's right, said there is a, quote, new vibe and new energy, end quote, with first-year coach Todd Monken and his staff. Of course, this is a year after Sanders was fourth in line for the QB job. He's now, technically, he's 1-2 with Deshaun Watson. They're getting all the reps. Monken said the plan is to get Sanders most of the practice reps in the team drills, but divvy up opportunities for all of the team's quarterbacks, right? Monken reiterated that the quarterback reps can change from day to day. It really does seem like it's, at this point, it's Deshaun Watson or Shedeur Sanders. What a choice, unless they do something stunning in the draft. And even then, do they, I don't know. They bring in Ty Simpson. They don't have somebody that can teach Ty Simpson. Deshaun Watson can't teach him, won't teach him. This is such a silly story on so many levels to me, Steve.
Let them fail as they're going to this year. Don't go and draft a quarterback. Go into next year's draft, which has a lot more quarterback depth with it. And Shedeur Sanders, as you say, the Pro Bowl quarterback, he got 3 career touchdown passes. I think it's 4 max, because I thought he had 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, but maybe I'm, coming up short, and it's really 4 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, which just shows how a joke it is to be a Pro Bowl quarterback. The Browns are a mess. Honestly, I think they're going to go with Deshaun Watson because they're paying him. And if you're paying him that kind of money, I think the owner still wants to feel that he got something out of the worst contract ever in the NFL, and maybe he can play until he gets hurt, and then Shedeur Sanders comes in. I don't think Sanders is the answer, and he's on his way out of Cleveland as well at some point.
Since the draft is tomorrow, the story that never ends continues to not end. You remember Steelers owner Art Rooney II said last month he expected to know quarterback Aaron Rodgers' plans for the season by the start of the draft. We talked yesterday and the day before about how, okay, looks like that's not going to happen. And no, he's not going to show up tomorrow in Pittsburgh. The Steelers basically came out, told the NFL Network said he's not going to show up and steal the show. McCarthy, head coach Mike McCarthy, keeps talking about how he's not worried. Aaron Rodgers will be ready if he decides to show up. And we're all trying to figure out, does McCarthy know he's coming back? Is he doing the ultimate misdirection to where he knows he's not coming back? Which, if he's not coming back, why not just say it? And that's one we haven't really gotten into. Yesterday, Art Rooney confirmed that Rodgers has not informed the team of his decision. And now, so remember, before it was by the draft. Now he echoed Mike McCarthy. The Steelers expect to have more clarity. Well, that's not a decision, clarity by the time OTAs start on May 18th. Rooney said, quote, I think we're close. He's kind of told us his time frame and what he's going to be up to over the next couple of weeks. Sounds like a darkness retreat. I think we'll have an answer soon. Let's put it that way. He really throws that soon word around liberally. May 18th is a month away. That's not soon, depending on what you're talking about. But when you're talking about a football season and OTAs start in a month, and that's when you're going to hear from them, that's like deadline day. And as you've said, and I know you're just completely frustrated with this, and I'm frustrated with talking about it. It's the same thing of letting the dog walk the owner and Aaron Rodgers. Let me. What about that question? If he's not coming back, why doesn't he say that? Why doesn't he just tell him he's coming back? Right?
I have to believe he is coming back because I agree with you. If he wasn't coming back and he knew he wasn't coming back, then he would have said something within a month or so after the Super Bowl would play. We wouldn't be sitting here right now. This would have been settled in March, unless it's just Aaron Rodgers, who loves to read his name in the media and in the press and hear about what he's doing and when he's going to have his retreat. And, maybe he just wants to stay relevant for one last summer. But this will be two franchises, and it is two franchises. He's held hostage. How can you allow this guy to hold your franchise? He blew up the Jets in every way. He cost Saleh his job with what he did with the Jets, and now he's doing it with Pittsburgh, and all the way up to the ownership is permitting it. I don't understand that. The franchise is bigger than the player, and Aaron Rodgers is not going to wear a Steelers uniform into the Hall of Fame. It's going to be a Packer. So it's not like, in baseball, you get your hat. It's not like he's going in as a Steeler. So why are you allowing him to hold your franchise for hostage?
And when Rooney says that we have an idea of what his plan is, well, again, if they really do, and if he wasn't coming back, the Steelers would. Why wouldn't you just say to Aaron Rodgers, well, then we need to announce that so that we can move on or we can use it as leverage or whatever. So he has to be leading them to believe he's coming back, and they seem to be okay with it, which we did that story to death yesterday. I mentioned how tired I am of these mock drafts. One of them that caught my eye yesterday was on ESPN.com, where they did the full Monty. They projected the draft for all 32 teams across all 7 rounds. I mean, this is where the stupid meets the stupid. You don't know about trades. We don't know if any of these guys are going to pan out. The thing that I was wondering, Steve, was is there any sports betting angle that goes with this draft crap? Because you can bet on anything these days. And I was looking at all these mocks and going, is there something like, can you bet on who the first pick and who the 5th pick? Is there something out there for these bettors?
Yes, they have those. You can bet on who will the number 1 pick be, the number 2 pick, all the way up, I think, through the first 10. Normally, they get into how many quarterbacks over and under will get drafted in the first round. All of those different things. The thing you got to understand, if you're really looking to place any wagers on that, is the wagers come down 24 hours before the draft starts. I think the draft starts at 5. Don't hold me to that.
Right.
But it's going to close up late this afternoon. So if you're going to make a bet, you have to do it today.
We were just a quick side note. We've been talking on the show about Kalshi and these prediction markets and now they're all in the courts, and it's a political story, it's a sports story. Donald Trump Jr. is on the board of Kalshi and another one, and you can predict, are we going to bomb Iran? And look at, here's this guy who bet 87 grand 8 hours before we bombed Iran, and he won $500,000 or whatever, and predictive markets and such. And so with the draft, I don't even know if they have a deadline on these predictive markets or what, but you've got all these people who know things that their teams are thinking. And the reason I bring it up is John Oliver hosts a show on HBO every Sunday night, late night. He's a comedian, stand-up comedian. And he does these long form things where he dives into a topic, and he dove into the predictive markets. And he gave a great example of how insider this thing is. Because on the political front, what people are saying is, well, did people at the Pentagon or the White House, they just know that they were going to bomb Iran and they went on and they made all this money? And then it's everything. It's politics, entertainment, all this crap. But he used a great example. Back on February 22nd, I think it was, they had a bet, a proposition available on Kalshi to predict words that John Oliver would say on his late night show when it aired on HBO Sunday night at 11. John Oliver pointed out, we tape on Saturdays. So any of the 300 people in our audience who knew that was a possible bet could have gone home and they know whether or not I said it. And I'm like sitting there going, this is more obnoxious than what Steve's even talking about. And there's so many examples like that. Oh my God.
It's turning wagering on the WWE into reality. It's a script. We know what it is. There's X amount of people who that are aware of the outcome. And now you're allowing them to bet, which is where I don't buy that whole thing that, well, it's people matched up. So if there
Right.
isn't a person willing to take the other side, then you don't get your bet. I'm sorry, they take the bets and they move forward. And this is so insider trade. I mean, we talk about that, but you don't really fully know where the stocks, you got a good idea. This is knowing beforehand the actual outcome and still being allowed to wager it.
As for tomorrow's draft, there's a few things we can do a day ahead of time. I'm going with a yes. I'll give you my answer first. Are we 100% sure? I mean, anything is not 100%. The Raiders are taking Fernando Mendoza at number 1.
Yes, but, and I got to throw the but in there because this is what I would love to see happen, and I know it won't. The Raiders, the Kirk Cousins contract still has me a little bit interesting because it's actually a 4-year contract up to like $80 million or whatever it is. And there's an awful lot of language going towards future seasons with the Raiders. The Jets have their draft picks. What if the Raiders say, you know what? We really are not going Mendoza. So we're going to go on Kalshi and we're going to get at that, 1,000 to 1. And we're going to play some wagers that Mendoza does not go first. We trade him to the Jets, who are in desperate need of a quarterback. The Raiders move down one slot, get the player they really want in this spot. If they're not going to take Mendoza, they get the player that they want. They can make how much money on the side for all their employees when they inform them ahead of time, and they can take that Mendoza, not the first pick. So you can use that as their retirement. Hey, look, here's your spring bonus. Put it towards your 401k, and then they move back one slot, get the guy they want. They pick up 1 or 2 extra first-round picks for giving up Mendoza, and it helps set them up for the future. And they have Kirk Cousins to see where they go. And if they fail and Kirk Cousins is terrible, you pick early in next year's draft and you get your quarterback there. You make your employees happy. You make, your franchise, you build it for the future. That's where I would go, but it's never going to happen.
As much as I love the way you roped the Kalshi angle into that, I actually think everything else you said makes a little bit of sense, which is why nothing's 100%. Because with Kirk Cousins there, and with all of the possibility of more draft picks to shore up a team that needs everything they can get, is it in somebody's head in Las Vegas to go ahead and let Cousins run it out for a year, know that they're probably – we think no matter who the quarterback is, you and I have looked at the schedule endlessly. We've done it on the show. 5 wins at most, it seems like, is what the Raiders are looking at. I don't know that Cousins gets them a 6th win based on what we saw. Even then, you're in the top, 8 for sure, maybe 5, and they're probably only going to win 3 or 4. And then, yeah, like you said, you're in that really big quarterback draft. That's the only thing. The Raiders have said publicly, we've gotten a ton of calls. They haven't said we're not trading him. Everything else they're doing, and everybody lives during draft season, makes it look like they're going to draft Mendoza. So you mostly think they will, but there's a sliver that they might not.
Unless you think he's Andrew Luck type quarterback coming out. Can't miss, can't fail. Best quarterback we've seen. And Andrew Luck coming out of college was there. He was like, look, this is the best quarterback we've seen in a decade. If you think it's that, you hold on to it. They need too many things. This helps them build. Won't happen. Raiders won't do it. But to me, it makes sense because they're going to be a top 5 pick again next year.
Now, you mentioned the Jets, and I don't know why, because we've already heard from the Jets head coach that Geno Smith is going to leave them to the promised land. So I don't know why you think the Jets need a quarterback, but they would pick second. And it's been up until like a week ago. It's been, is it going to be David Bailey? Is it going to be Arvell Reese? Bailey Reese? A few days ago, everybody was saying it's Reese. And now they're back to, well, is it Bailey or Reese? And I don't know if this is just trying to gin up drama. It is the Jets. So who knows? For all I know, they're gonna pick a punter because you just don't know with the Jets. But it sure seems like they're in the Arvell Reese camp, which would make sense. They need everything they can get. He's the best linebacker in the group. They win either way.
Yeah, they're going after that edge rusher, which, man, wouldn't it be sweet? Slide down, the Raiders pick up the edge rusher. And I think the Raiders are the only team to pick a punter in the first round. If you roll back to Ray Guy, I believe he was a first-round pick.
So whatever, let's assume the Raiders and the Jets stay where they are and those two picks go. That's where everybody thinks it starts to get interesting because now you have the Cardinals at 3. They have made it known they want to trade out of the spot. There's a lot of teams in the top 10 that have told the league, we want out. We want out. So anybody who wants to move up, they know the teams to call. So if the Jets take Reese, and this is an interesting one. A lot of people are saying if they take Reese, and there's a team out there that wants to make a big move up for Bailey, like the Chiefs, a lot of people are saying, would a deal come together, gets Arizona some extra pick, a team that wants to come up to number 3 for Jeremiah Love, the running back, Mel Kiper, he says you never take a running back in the first round. This year it's like, do you take him at 5 or do you take him in the top 10? Because everybody is like, and in fact, the Titans who pick 4th, there's a story out there that when Saleh hired, what's his name to be the offensive coordinator, the Giants guy, Dable, right? Said to Saleh, get me Jeremiah Love. Get him in the draft, and I'll take the job. Obviously, there's no guarantee of that. But there's 3 and 4 with the Cardinals and the Titans and the trading. And this is where it all falls apart. Well, if the Titans trade out, we don't know who's trading up, and it's hard to predict. But this is the fun stuff that we're supposed to be engaging in here.
I think Jeremiah Love goes 3. I do if it's a trade or straight to the Cardinals. The Cardinals can use him as well. I mean, James Conner is not the answer at running back. And I believe they brought in Algier, the running back out of Atlanta, to this team as well. I don't see Tennessee passing. I think Tennessee will take him if he slides to 4. And I really don't believe the Giants would pass on him if he slides to 5. Scatterboo is not the John Harbaugh type running back. I know he got hurt last year. He's fun because he's plays so recklessly, but he's not that big workload running back. Jeremiah Love is that running back who doesn't come off the field, can catch the ball, run the ball, can hit the home run on the touchdown. I see 0 chance that Love slides past 5. And I really believe he's going pick 3.
And that is the other big question mark right now. The Giants with those 2 top 10 picks, 5 and 10. Do they keep them both? Do they trade? No, God, there's no way Jeremiah Love survives past 5 if the Giants still have. I don't think he does either way. 5 would be the end of it for me. So that's the little bit of draft insight. We'll see if we get more storylines and more rumors, and we'll preview it for tomorrow because the draft is tomorrow night at 5, and we'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m.
This has been a presentation of the Rob and Steve Sports Show, brought to you by the Rad Network and is copyrighted by the radnetwork.com and Williams Broadcasting for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, accounts, or descriptions of whatever Rob and Steve just talked about without the express permission of the Rad Network, Williams Broadcasting, and Rob's really mean lawyers is prohibited. So don't do it.